Welcome to the Tesla Motors Club podcast. My name is Seb.
I'm Doug.
And I'm Mike.
On today's episode, Ford going all in on Tesla Supercharging, takeaways from the Tesla shareholder meeting, and an update on the latest FSD Beta. Episode 42 starts now. Gentlemen, hello, welcome, happy Memorial Day weekend. How's everybody?
Hey,
It's a good weekend.
doing all right. Lewis couldn't make it with us for today, so got a core trio here though, and good to have you back, Seb. So
Thank you.
So we're looking forward to chat about these topics.
Awesome. Yeah, let's jump right in. Before we talk about Ford adopting the Tesla charging standard, Mike, I think you had a trip to Electrify America and tried to see if your credit card worked this weekend.
Oh my God. Yeah. So on top of the news from Ford, which I heard about earlier in the day, yesterday, I was on a road trip yesterday up to the mountains and back, and I decided to do a recharge at our local flagship EA charger. And I get there and I got two cars next to me. Neither one are plugged in, and the guys are out there trying to figure out what to do. And I don't think much about it. I go ahead and I pull in, get my adapter out, and I go to plug in, and I realize the screen says app only. Can't use your credit card, can't use your RFI card, can't use your phone, as far as, touch and go. You had to log into the app. You had to turn the charger on by the app. And that was the only way this was going to work. And the two cars next to me, which was a Taycan and a Hyundai, they both left. They apparently weren't members or, whatever. They couldn't get it to work. They just gave up and went somewhere else. This is Memorial Weekend. This is a major holiday when people are out driving around, and EA just can't seem to get it together. According to Twitter, I'm not alone. This was happening a lot of different places. So just another day in the life of Electrify America.
Yeah, I saw those posts on Twitter. Just a lot of people complaining about whole stations being down.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What the heck, man? Get it together.
It's that Windows 95 they run.
Well, it's always a mixed bag, I guess, right? If you're a non-Tesla owner, you just never know what you're going to get at these charging stations. But that's actually a good segue because, Doug, what do you think about Ford going all in and announcing alongside Elon that they're going to use the Tesla adapter at some point in the future?
It's pretty interesting because you sort of wonder about the timing, like why now? I think it's a very smart move, at least for Ford. I think Ford benefits quite a bit. And they probably could have done this. Tesla is already making charging stations with an adapter that CCS could use. But, the Tesla experience is just so seamless. And having driven an i3 for a couple of years, it's just, there's no comparison. So if Ford can just, okay, for one thing, just handling the connector, right? This is so much easier. It just fits in the palm of your hand. It's just the right size. And
flexible. You don't have to muscle it around.
Right. And then the other thing is software. Like if they can do it in such a way where you just plug in and it instantly identifies your vehicle, not having to worry about, putting in a credit card or having a special RFID card or whatever, that would be great. And then also if it has the sort of navigation type information and the routing information, if they can get that, and in the discussion to sound like there'd be some software help as well. That's the thing that makes it, when I go on a trip anywhere, I don't even worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
I just put in my destination and it tells me where to charge. And for the most part, I just trust it. And it tends to, pick the chargers that are the least off my path. And so it makes a whole lot of sense. And that's what makes the Tesla experience so seamless. So if Ford can get a bit of that, I think that'd be great. My main question though is then how does that affect, us as Tesla owners? Like in 2025, they say that, or at least that model year, that's the ones that will get Tesla connectors. Will they put it on the right spot? Like Tesla's designed so that the charging port is on the rear left, right? So if Ford puts them on the front right, that would be fine. But I think on that Lightning, aren't they on the front left?
All right, yeah, they're on the left.
So that would that might cause issues.
Well,
so wouldn't want to see that.
Look on the plus side, Doug. It won't be like the Chevy Bolt, where it's only charging at 50 kilowatts on a 350 kilowatt unit. Yeah, I mean, at least the Mach-E, because that's the one that I read about that they referenced, is the Mach-E is going to be the one that's the initial Tesla connector. It has a decent charge rate. I mean, and when they're connected to the Tesla charger, they'll be able to enforce, you're done, get out. Unlike the EA chargers and some of the others, where when they're done charging, people just walk away because there's really no impact. We'll see what happens.
And I guess Alan is saying he hopes that more companies adopt the standard plug and don't create their own network for EV charging. Well, it's actually a good question, because I wanted to get your guys' take as well on what's in it for Tesla and for Ford, right? And I think you could probably argue there's pros for Ford to have a better customer experience. But what I wanted to ask you guys is, Tesla opened up the standard last year and then called it NACS. And I think they got some subsidies in exchange.
It's not a standard. It was never approved by a board of, any type of body. So that's a misnomer.
Yes, although I want to push back just a little bit and say,
please do.
Tesla gets criticized so often, right? And I feel like it's gotten a little bit more mellow. But I mean, I remember the days like 5-10 years ago, like every news article was basically just hating Tesla. And I love this one article that just said, well, look at Tesla, like going it alone, just like Apple with their lightning cable. And I wanted to be like, well, in 2010, there was nothing out there. They needed something, right? So
absolutely.
Right. And that's happened twice now. I mean, the Roadster had to have its own connector because the the J1772 hadn't quite come along yet. And the other OEMs were limiting the kind of current that would be available to charge for AC charging. The issue sort of came up again when, no one was really figuring out how DC charging was going to work. And it also was somewhat limited when Tesla developed it for the Model S, for their North American standard. And of course, in Europe, they're using something that's basically a variant of NACS, so or what's called Type 2 combo connector. So it's a little less of an issue there. So your question was, well, what's the advantage for? I think the advantages for Ford are probably fairly obvious. Just access to that charging network, and it makes it a better experience for their customers.
Absolutely,
so that makes it, quite
sell more cars.
Right. For Tesla, we don't really know what the terms of whatever deal they might have had. I don't know if Ford paid them up front. I don't know if there are any licensing fees. And especially if they start collaborating on software and hardware in the car, not just, you use your, adapter or whatever, the actual hardware in the car. We don't know what that is. But then also Tesla, they're running a charging network, and, maybe they can make some money on that too. That, at least in the past, that's shown to be not a good business model. Like most, maybe it's because there hasn't been a critical mass of users yet, but over the past few years, pretty much every charging network, like not the company selling the hardware, but the company trying to make money as a charging network, like a bunch of them have gone bankrupt or gone under. But Tesla has such a large user base, and they're supported just by their overall business. So the charging stations didn't need to make money, and in fact they were free to start with. So they definitely weren't making money. So maybe if they can make some money now, maybe if they do enough things to become eligible for federal subsidies, also we'll see. So there are potential advantages, but we just don't know enough about it. I don't think.
Let me ask you a question, Doug. I'm going to kind of throw a hypothetical out there and see what you guys think about it. Ford's going to use the adapter. They're going to come up and use the Tesla plug. Now, no one has really said if they're actually use the back end of Tesla's engineering. In other words, are they going to use the cabling and the DC AC conversion and all the electronics that really make it work well on a Tesla? If they do, and I think they might, what's the possibility of Ford partnering with Tesla for something like motors, or, expanding the footprint of Tesla parts in a Ford? I mean, the mind kind of boggles a little bit.
I think it's a good question. I believe that part of it will be partnering on the charging hardware as far as the car is concerned, like the cabling, the connector, obviously, and then whatever.
Obviously,
cabling,
the connector, but I'm thinking of the actual
connector.
I'm thinking of the like, what's his name? Our teardown expert. My mind just blanked completely.
No, Sandy Monroe.
Thank you, Sandy. He's got an excellent YouTube video that compares the CCS versus the Tesla charging system and why it's such a win for Ford if they use the parts. And his analysis is saying that the Tesla system, from the connector to the charging circuitry, is 30% less money than the conventional CCS. That's a big number when you start talking the number of EVs that Ford wants to sell. So I'm just curious where this partnership might end. I mean, Tesla's got better motors by far.
Again, it's a good question, and Tesla's done it before. They had a partnership with Toyota, for example, and they provided the drivetrains
years ago.
The RAV4 EV back 2010ish. They also provided, I guess they provided a battery for the Mercedes. Well, it was not Mercedes, it was Daimler for the smart EV, the smart ED. What a terrible name for a car, the ED, which tells you something about how much performance you think that car has. And they totally nerfed it too, because I rode in their prototype of that. It was basically a smart car with a roadster drivetrain. Can you imagine? I mean, the thing had so much torque, it basically wanted to pull a wheelie. And they, they nerfed it with some lame motor, and Tesla just supplied the battery pack. But anyway, it's certainly in the possibility. It sort of feels like Tesla's always talking about being production limited, and I feel like they got their own cars to make.
They do.
So I think Ford can figure out how to make their own motors, and they have their own suppliers for the battery packs. I think just the charging thing goes far enough, and Ford needs to be investing more into EVs anyway. And I don't think they can like totally become dependent on Tesla as a supplier. But the install base of no one else wants to get in the charging station business, at least as an OEM car manufacturer. So I think just on that level, it makes a lot more sense. Now, one question I have though is, so Tesla is allowing other vehicles to use their connector, right?
Sure.
Not just their charging stations, but the actual connector. Can other companies make a station with a Tesla connector?
I had the same question for you.
Question.
Because I mean, it's not okay. The connector is nice, but it's not the connector. It's the system that Tesla's put together. Can you imagine? And like EA stations
with their terrible reputation with Tesla connectors.
Yeah, I mean,
although
maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe people will see the brand of the station.
EVgo is doing Tesla charging now. EVgo cheats. They cheat in two ways. You can use the CCS adapter, and EVgo fully supports it to the point you can actually do plug and go, although they don't call it that. It's something else. But I'll actually plug my Tesla into an EVgo station. It knows the car, knows who I am, knows I have an account, and just starts charging, just like Tesla does.
Nice.
It takes a little longer for it to work, but it works the same way. Their other methodology is they basically have a Tesla connector, but it's emulating CHAdeMO. So the car thinks it's being charged by CHAdeMO, even though it's a Tesla connector, looks Tesla, all that. So they've done it two ways, and they've been kind of successful at it. Just more than I can say for EA or even some of the other players we have out there.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I think you guys touched on this, but before we move on to the next topic, we talked about winners. Ford, clear winner. Tesla,
Clear winner.
We're not sure. What about potential losers? ChargePoint, EA, how do they make it out of this?
I think EA is going to take a hit on this. I mean, Volkswagen's already got a lot of problems with EA of not being really invested in it.
I mean, what is EA but Toyota? I'm sorry, Volkswagen's punishment, right? For
it was Dieselgate.
So are their hearts even really in it anyway? It's like,
Not that I
this
can
is
see.
this is the Volkswagen equivalent of cleaning up litter off the side of the highway, right? It's that's their parole or their public service or whatever for something that people should go to jail for, right?
And what's interesting is Volkswagen, so what's Volkswagen going to do? Are they going to accept the Tesla connector, which their own network doesn't support? Or are they going to stick with CCS, which is their own network, although admittedly it's got issues?
I mean, that's a good question. More generally, in the next 5-10 years, does CCS go away? CHAdeMO is already on its way out, right?
That's been a slow, lingering death for some time now.
I mean, certainly the Tesla connector is the superior format in terms of ease of use and just sort of luggability, how easy it is to move it around. So, does that mean, whatever, CCS1 goes away?
Well, so the only thing I'll say is my daughter actually gave up on her i3 because she hated the CCS charging so much. After a year, we got a Tesla for her.
But it wasn't the connector; it was the network.
It was everything about it. It was the fact that you put the CCS in on the i3 and it tweaked the body panel and it wouldn't make a connection and it give an error on the screen, and you tried to use the app and the app didn't work, or the console was broken and showing a Linux prompt. I mean, it was a sum total of CCS charging across the board. And after a year, she just threw the towel and says, "I'm done. I don't want to deal with this anymore."
I'm glad for those cars to go away, to be fully honest with you. I hated those attempts at building EVs like the i3 and, even...
the i3 is a great little car. It's just crippled with the CCS.
Yeah, I was a fan of the i3. I enjoyed it, but yeah, the charging network was the issue.
I think in a group of enthusiasts, yes, it's a nice car. It had its place. But the problem I always saw with it is that for the whole country, if you're trying to sell the idea of EVs, seeing something on the road that has these bicycle wheels and it kind of looks like a shopping cart with a roof, it's not sexy, right? That's why.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
I had friends that say, but it's so ugly, so I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah.
Well, speaking of ugly and sexy, I do want to get your guys' thoughts on some of the takeaways from the shareholder meeting. So we heard, I think all of us tuned in live, and we were, kind of IMing on Discord. But what do you guys think about the decision that Tesla is potentially trying their hand at advertising?
That was very interesting. I was surprised to hear it, actually. But I think it's a tacit acknowledgement that Tesla needs to grow up a little bit and kind of join the ranks of the normal world of business and consumerism.
Yeah, I found it slightly disingenuous because the way
because they don't have a PR department.
He presented well, maybe we will, as if he was making the decision right there when clearly they had.
I think he was.
I don't think he was. I think that decision had been made. I mean, the easy thing is, okay, we'll try some advertising on Twitter or whatever. In theory, the ad budget went to the Superchargers. That's the way they talked about it in the past, and that the Supercharger network is part of what made getting a car easier. Right. If you had a Supercharger near you, you felt more confident getting the car. And they've done pretty well on word of mouth, and they have several knobs they can turn. Advertising, a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the incentive program, which, who knows if that actually does anything. And then obviously the cost, the prices move up and down, in a way that is more transparent to the user. And I've argued that for other vehicles, the price is going up and down all the time. It's just happening at the dealer level, and you see some manufacturer recommended sale price or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I think they need some brand management. That's part of what advertising is about. Like when you see an ad for Coke, it's not really about you going to get a Coke. It's about you feeling good about Coke already. Coca-Cola, I mean.
Yeah. It's the story. It's the story that goes with it.
Right. And if you look at, the advertising for Apple, say, in the Jobs era, the think different sort of thing. And Jobs himself would refer to advertising for Nike. You're not talking about how great the shoe is. You're celebrating athletics and athletes sort of thing. And I think Tesla could use some brand management now. I think, something beyond Elon, since he's becoming more of a controversial character. And so, yeah, I mean, we need to kind of divorce the two a little bit and just, celebrate Tesla for what Tesla is and the accomplishments it's had. And, we don't have it on our list here, but, the Model Y is at least for the last quarter, is the best selling car in the world. Not
beat
best
Toyota.
EV, the best selling car. That's a big deal.
That was the Toyota Corolla it beat.
Yeah. But it wasn't like the EV Corolla. It was the Corolla,
the overall,
and every other vehicle, right? So that's a big deal. And Tesla should be able to celebrate that and mention that in an ad and have nice pictures of it, doing donuts in a desert or whatever, the kind of things that people do in car ads. And especially as EVs sort of become more prominent, I think it'd be good. I don't see no more commercial TV, so I don't really know, but I'm sure it makes a difference for, your normal John Q public. And
it's always interesting to me that Tesla's got such an excellent safety rating and record. I mean, as far as crash goes and protection of the occupants. And I remember the old days of Volvo advertising that. That was a big selling point for the older Volvos, is how safe they were. You could buy the fancy sports car, but if you wanted to survive, you'd buy a Volvo. And here you've got a car that's, very good looking. It's got great performance and it's safe. And yet they don't promote it, or at least not on advertisement or something of that type.
Yeah. Well, if we know one thing, Elon is really good at starting a company and then becoming his own customer, right? Like with SpaceX, Starlink. So now for Twitter, maybe he wants to drive up ad revenue a little bit. But Doug, if you were in charge of Tesla marketing, what audience would you focus on with these ads, right? Because it doesn't seem like they have an issue with demand. Like, what audience should they go after?
As far as like demographic?
Yeah.
That's an interesting question.
That's a good question. I don't know that I would be that specific. Part of advertising is not just acquiring new customers, but also making existing customers feel good about their purchase. And I think making existing Tesla customers feel good about their Teslas would be a good start. Not that they really need to do that, but some of their best customers are existing customers, right?
True that.
The people that buy more Teslas, because the brand loyalty is pretty high. So I think that benefit, as I was saying before, like Coca-Cola or whatever, it's like brand reinforcement sort of thing. So I think that would be good. I think people would be interested. Certainly, Tesla fans would be interested to see Tesla ads on television. In terms of new acquisition, I don't know, whatever. Just I don't know, car buyers, right? I would be less about trying to appeal to the environmentally conscious crowd and just just the general crowd. I mean, part of the Toyota Corolla is reliability and longevity of the vehicle. So I would put some of that money into increasing service and also spending a bit more time on reducing manufacturing defects and all those kind of things. Appeal to that, appeal to safety and all your standard car kind of stuff. And you can mention efficiency, but fun to drive, all that kind of stuff that Chelsea Sexton would always talk about. Like, we need to advertise electric cars as sexy and not focus on the plug and all the stuff that might be
technical bits.
Technical bits that are seen as drawbacks, or could be seen as drawbacks to people that don't know any better.
Which I think was the goal with the Model S, right? It wasn't let's make a decent electric car. It was let's make the best car, period. And whether people agree with that or not, let's leave that question aside. But I think that was the goal, right? And even with the Cybertruck, it kind of blew me away that such a, I don't know how to put it, but like it's very controversial looking, right? So a vehicle like that they would rack up so many pre-orders and kind of take business away from people that may buy a more traditional truck was impressive to me. Do you guys want to talk a little bit about the new updates we got about the Cybertruck during the shareholder meeting?
I'm going to push back on you a little bit because I don't think, for everything I've read and everybody I've talked to, I don't think the typical buyer of the Cybertruck is a truck owner.
Different group?
I think it's a different group. I think it's not your construction. I'm going to haul, 1.5 tons of building blocks in the back of my truck, or, whatever. It's much more someone who is in the suburbs and they want something that's fun and cool and very different, and maybe haul soccer balls, or, maybe haul some stuff for, do it yourself or whatever. It's more of a statement piece, I think, than it is a truck in the classic sense of the word. I might be wrong, but just talking to my friends, that's the impression I get. Myself, I think it's ugly. So I'm not the demographic for it.
Well, I am interested to have more variety on the road. I think it looks interesting. I wouldn't say it's ugly, but I wouldn't say it looks great either. I mean, it kind of looks like something
like an angry triangle.
No, it looks like something, I might have drawn when I was in, junior high school or whatever. Right. Like when I'm thinking, ooh, this is what my future car looks like with hard angles.
I3 on speed.
It's just me with the ruler and when they did the announcement, it was, Blade Runner Day, right? Because it was the, from the opening titles on Blade Runner saying it's 2019 in the future,
the future.
And of course, in this future we're still waiting for it to be delivered. So I wouldn't say it's ugly. I think it's definitely interesting, and I'd be happy to have more variety on the road. That's how I felt about the Aptera. That's not something I find particularly practical. I like the idea that it has more has a teardrop shape, so it has a low coefficient of drag. But
is that the one with the solar roof?
That's what they're selling it on now. Yeah, now it has a solar roof after it dying and sort of trying to come back. But my point is, and my feeling back then when I got to sort of sit in the car back, I don't know, whatever year that was, it's not for me, but I think it'd be cool to have it on the road, like the Corbin Sparrows and all the other weird little EV things. I think it'd be neat to have more variety. So the Cybertruck is certainly for somebody just, trying to be part of that. It's not your normal pickup truck, and again, it's sort of surprising to me that Tesla has let it go so long that other players have really done the truck and in a way that people actually want. You got Ford F-150,
you got the Chevy,
it's pretty nice. The Rivian is pretty nice, and they have features that people like. Like that they have compressed air available for air tools, or power available for tools, or even powering their houses or whatever. So we'll see. Let's see. So what else came out? There was like some interior photos. Let me see if I can pull that up here. So so we got some from that.
Not a yoke, but not a wheel.
Yeah, some kind of for our audio listeners, we're looking at an image that came out from the interior of the Cybertruck that someone saw at the shareholder meeting. Now, it's a bit of a departure from what the concept we originally saw, which I'm showing here, right? So the original image we saw was a sort of very angular interior.
Very angular.
And they have 3 seats
wheel
in the front. So there's shotgun and the middle seat, which has a name I won't repeat. And it looked like it had a sort of a faux sort of marble dash, and it had the yoke and whatnot. But the image that we're seeing now, which I think is probably getting close to production intent, they're showing this large center console instead of a seat there. Not the yoke, but a kind of a, what do you say, like the squircle kind of sort of
squircle,
or I guess it's kind of an octagon, I guess.
Octagon, yeah. Welcome to the octagon.
But it has the capacitive buttons and no stalks kind of thing that is in the current Tesla lineup. And then
does it have the real horn again? We don't know, right?
I don't know, man. I don't know why they don't have that yet. I would hope it's a real horn. There seems to be some segmentation in the center thing there, so maybe there's a little bit of a switch there for a horn. There should be, but you still, I think you see the. Is there a horn related image here? I can't.
I don't see one.
See it.
That kind of looks like a phone.
Yeah, and then
you just have to program your scroll.
Wiper. Yeah, so I'm not really sure what they have there. And then the other thing is this, it looks like Alcantara dash.
That's a huge dash.
Yeah, it's very deep. I don't think it makes sense for that to be Alcantara. It kind of collects dust. I think you'd be better off just plastic back there. But
well, I got to say, Doug, when I see that picture and I see the center console there, it reminds me so much of the late 60s, early 70s muscle cars with that roll top center console cover. That was
and I think that retro cover is it kind of hints to the bed cover, right?
It does. It does.
So here was another angle. You can sort of see the seat controls. Everything's all angular. You see, you have lots of lots of
Borg.
Lots of angles there. So. And whatever this is, that looks like an emergency stop button, doesn't it?
Someone trying to jump it?
I don't know what's going on there. Oh, anyway, that's that.
Yeah. The steering wheel is interesting to me. I like the yoke when they announced it initially. I don't think it's a good driving experience. And to be fully honest, I like the steering wheel on my old car. I have a 2015 Model S. And it's kind of like that Audi wheel. The bottom is flat. Rest is a circle, and it feels great holding it. Should just go back to that.
A D-shaped wheel is my preferred wheel, just for someone with long legs. I like a flat bottom, so I have a little more space for my knees. I haven't driven the yoke, so I don't know. I think this kind of design is a good compromise. And that you have something that you can actually grab at the top.
I drove a yoke. I didn't care for it. I keep wanting to do the hand over hand on the top, and it's not there. So I find myself grabbing like where the horn would be, or the airbag. and so it's very unsettling for myself.
Hmm.
Again, not my thing.
Hmm. Well, I mean, the racing mode is you have the yoke and it's here, right? So your hands are always at whatever 6 and 9 or 3 and 9.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you guys have talked about this like at length.
Yeah.
I like holding it is cool. I think it's nice that you can see the instrument cluster, right? There's nothing blocking your view. Just for me, I would hate if my tail broke loose and I couldn't like catch it, because the top's missing.
It would be tough.
Yeah.
Be a
Well, what
challenge.
else? Adaptive air suspension, right? That was announced. Anything else at the shareholder meeting that stood out to you guys as surprising? Something you want to mention?
Yeah. Not really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess one of the main things that was JB was brought on the board, which was an easy and obvious thing. I mean, he's early Tesla, and he's actually considered a founder after Elon's lawsuit. So, and I like what JB's gone on to do because it's not. It's almost an issue, and it's something that needs to be looked forward for forward-looking people is like, okay, what do we want to do with these batteries, and how do they get a second life, and how do we recycle them and extract what we need out of them, and then maybe from his learnings or whatever they're doing, maybe that recyclability can be maybe there's some learnings there that can be put in their manufacture. So what makes this easier to recycle? And that's what's great about EVs is that we're not burning oil that just ends up in the air and then it's just gone. We have these battery packs that are constantly being reused for the lifetime of the vehicle. And then, they're still atoms, they're still constituent
still material
there that can be recycled and remanufactured. So I mean, I think that's great for a sustainable future. So that has to be part of the planning.
Yep, totally agree. Mike, any thoughts on that? Otherwise, we'll move on to a pretty cool mod, I would say, that we saw in the forums.
No, let's move on to the mod.
Cool.
I like mods.
I do too. So yeah, speaking of recycling and DIYing,
upcycling.
It's quite the upgrade, huh? I think he was a Model 3 owner who did a little rework on his seats. I'm sure, Duck, you're pulling it up on the forum.
Yeah, I'll get it up in a sec here. So this is for our thread of the week or thread of the episode, I'll say. Since we don't always do it every week and don't do a show every week. So thread of the week is maybe a misnomer. But this is sort of interesting. And it's been a bit of a pain point for me with the Tesla is that the headset, the headrest is not adjustable. And so this guy basically made his own headrest here. Look at that.
Made his own. That's impressive, actually.
Yeah, it's good work.
Yeah, I always feel like I want some neck support, at least when I'm in a reclined position. And every Tesla I've driven, so older Model 3s and current-ish, I'm sorry, older Model S's and current 3s and Ys, it's just a sort of a unibody or single unit seat, and the headrest part is just connected and there's no adjusting it. And so this is something I've kind of wanted. The thing is, the aesthetics of the single piece seat are better. So I don't think that looks great. I don't think that looks particularly good, but I mean, it looks good. I mean, it looks like a seat that's designed to look like that. So I think he did a great job in it. So yeah. So yeah, we'll have this thread linked in our show notes, and people can sort of read about what this guy did. The user is paid to mod 3. So I'm sorry, plaid to mod 3. So I guess he had a Model S plaid and changed to Model 3, or is he modding his Model 3? Which it sounds like. I can't quite decipher.
Maybe he's making his Model 3 to a plaid.
Yeah, maybe.
Can we tell from the pictures what that is? That looks like a 3 to me. No, is that a?
What are we
S?
talking? The vehicle?
It looks like a 3. That's a 3.
The vehicle is a 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
The vehicle is a 3, but he modified it. Modified the seats.
He should have just taken the headrest off and made it like a 60s car, like no headrests at all.
Yeah, and then you get rear-ended and your head snaps off. Let's see. Our producer is saying the author of that thread found those parts in the little junkyard. Yes, that's what he described. And I think he said they're from an older BMW. So pretty good. I'm curious how he got them. Like, I guess there must be a mechanism that holds the dual stalks of
those two rails. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to do a little bit of upholstery work.
Yeah, the only thing I can tell you is that I would have not been able to pull that off. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Now, guys, I know the one other topic we wanted to cover is the latest FSD Beta update. Some folks who are tuned in right now have dropped in some comments and said it's getting much better. They're seeing some good results. And Lewis is probably still out there testing it, so he'll tell us about it next time. You guys have any experience with the new version yet?
I don't.
Not yet. I've been bugging my car. Say, hey, check for that update.
I swipe it every day trying to get it to hurry up, but
how is there a way to get it to hurry up? Like, I'll go into the car and go to the software page and it'll say up to date as of whatever. Yep. And that might be this very moment, but sometimes it's a couple days ago. And I'm like, how do I make you check right now?
I'm not aware of a way to do it. I've tried. Yeah. Just have to sit there and be patient.
You know, I've had continued experience with 11.3.6, and it really, you know, compared to what we've had before, it really is night and day. I mean, it really is a lot better. But I consistently have issues with it wanting to be in the wrong lane for some odd reason. I'm not really sure why, but or times when I know it's not going to make it over in time. So you know, that's been my experience with it. Actually, let me see if I can share this now. I did have a little bit of an event just a few days ago, and I'll share my dash cam from it. Let's see. Here we go. So well, I'll let you know, for the audio listeners, here's just the front view, and we pass a little speed trap here. Yep. And then just coming along at 70 miles an hour, and here is a deer.
A doe.
I'll go back again.
Bambi's on the highway.
Just walking, you know, along, and he's just about to enter my lane. And FSD Beta, as far as I know, did not react at all to it. And you would think it should be able to see it. I mean, back here already, here's the deer. I didn't see it by then, I don't think. And when you see motion, that's me reacting to it. Like, I'm pretty close to it there, and it looks like it's about to go into my lane. And my right lane was clear, so I quickly moved to the right lane. But I did it so aggressively that I fishtailed just a little bit, which you can kind of see.
Good thing you didn't have a yoke.
Yeah.
Well, I think it probably would have been fine with a yoke because it was this kind of control. But so I don't know if FSD even saw it. So I always,
so you had no alert on the screen about it. You didn't see the little icon walking across.
No, I mean, I'm not looking at the screen. Fortunately, I wasn't looking at the screen. I'm looking at the road, and I saw the deer, and was able to, and I had my hands on the wheel too. So I was able to react and move. But again, it's like things I would like in part of the dash cam software. I would like, we have, what do we get? We get the front view, the rear view, and the 2 side repeaters, right? So we get 4 angles. I would like to add to the things that are being recorded, one, the interior camera, because I'd love to see my, my cursing face as that something like that happens.
This is my oh my god face. Ah!
Yeah. I'd like to have audio, or the option of audio, because you get to hear my tire scrub as I do that maneuver. And I would like to have some telemetry data, or even just the capture of what the screen sees, because does it see this thing walking along? Does it perceive it as like 2 people walking along? What did it see, and what was it gonna do?
See, I had a raccoon do something like that, and the car never saw it, and I just wrote it off as it was such a small animal and so low to the ground, wasn't even in the field of vision to speak of. But that doe is pretty good size.
Yeah. And a raccoon, it's arguable, and I think the law is,
Just
like, you don't want to take crazy evasive motion for something that's not going to injure you or the car, right? Because you risk injuring other people.
Right.
But when it's something this big, you don't want to hit that. Yeah, I want to know what the car was doing. The other thing is, one thing that I like about the current versions of FSD is when you have a disengagement, it gives you the opportunity to annotate what happened, right? So I can press the button and say,
didn't see a deer.
Well, I can say a car wasn't going to make the lane change enough times. And I like being able to add that piece of information, that hopefully Tesla is using that. In this case, I was so, so excited about preventing the accident, and then also pressing the button so that I could save the dash cam footage.
Yeah.
That I had missed the opportunity of annotating the reason for the disengagement. So is Tesla ever going to see this, or, because that's a big deal. That's kind of a big deal.
So there was a comment from Alan Taylor, and he was saying that in December, on my trip to Kansas from California, FSD did not react to the deer that hit me out of nowhere. I got no alert in regards to the animal and no recording of the accident. That's a little scary. I mean, a good friend of mine took out a deer with a car some years back, and it was the equivalent of hitting another car. I mean,
I've hit a
minor impact.
I've hit a deer in the past, with similar kind of circumstances, except it was directly in my lane, and I was, in the second lane. I was in this similar lane, but it was directly in my lane, and I had to try to turn and end up hitting it sideways, kind of. But this is there was no computer that was going to take over. This was like an old Ford Escort with a manual transmission.
The only computer was up here, Mach 1.
Yeah. So yeah, I would like to know, if it would have reacted, and I'd like to have that info, as part of what the dash cam feature records. Let me know. Let me go back and review that. So,
yeah, well, back to my original premise of FSD, not ready yet.
Not ready yet, but still pretty good. But yeah, I couldn't have been sleeping, because, that would have been a disaster. So
now, in Beta's defense, there shouldn't be any pedestrians or deer on the highway, right? So it's just a matter of no training data.
Yeah, you got to train the deer, right? Stay off the highway.
Well, I hope that they can. I hope that they can extract that data. That they recorded that disengagement, and hopefully they got it, even though I didn't get to annotate it. So,
all right, gentlemen.
Scary stuff.
All right, I think that brings us to the end of topics. Don't you think?
Yep,
I think so.
Cool. All righty, folks. I'd say that's a wrap. Thank you guys all for joining today. If you do want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter and on YouTube. And if you want to support the show, please consider becoming a supporting member. At this point, we do want to thank the producers Adam and Danny. And we hope to see you next time. Thank you so much.
Laters.